So during the day, Patrick has introduced what is Forvia, what is its potential. He has mentioned the pillars of the Power 25 plan. Michel and Bernard have presented what means Power 25 for ELA. The business groups have presented what means Power 25 for each of their respective activity. Let me articulate what it means in the financials for Forvia. The objective is very clear. We have done a transformational acquisition. We are deleveraging post this acquisition, which is a normal thing. The priorities set by the Power 25 is aligned with this objective. They are enablers to this goal. On the sales side, as you have seen, we are on the right piece of the market. We are able to make selective growth, selective in terms of technological innovation, in terms of evolution of the portfolio, and in terms also of the cash investment necessary to get this growth. On the profitability, it's about lowering the break-even. So it's about cost reduction, and it's about maintaining the variable margin throughout the course of those years. And third, of course, is to convert these operations in actual cash flow, and also to execute in full the disposal program. But before going further in details, let me highlight some key elements of this plan from a financial perspective. The first one, as mentioned by Patrick earlier today, is that all this is based on the current ownership of Faurecia in ELA of 81.6%. In terms of governance, in terms of synergies, in terms of cooperation, this is based on this one. And of course, it is also based on this, on the debt evolution. The currency rates that we are using are in fact consistent with the average of this year, either US dollar or Chinese yuan. The figures are consolidated, and they are consistent with the Faurecia accounting principle, as you might expect. Electronics in the presentation is the combination of ELA Electronics and Faurecia Electronics, as you have seen earlier on. Now, on the right-hand side is just a reminder that we have aligned the definition of the scope of automotive production we are using throughout Forvia. Historically, Faurecia was taking out the minivans in China and India inside this number, so there was a reclassification of around 3 million vehicles on the market. ELA was not doing this, so we have aligned the two definitions. We are taking as a reference the scope of, in fact, what Standards & Poor's IHS are providing. And this is what we will do going forward. So you may see 3 million vehicles more in the production, but actually it's not. It's just a question of scope. Now, I will go in the details of what means deleveraging. Deleveraging, first of all, means generate cash flow from our activity, from our growth, from our profitability, and from our conversion in cash, in particular on optimization, CapEx, working capital. We commit to do at least, and in fact more than 2.5 over the 3 years. And as mentioned earlier on, inside those 2.5, there is 1.5% of sales in 23, to give an element clearly that we are not planning to have cash flow at the end of the cycle, but immediately from the beginning. The second one is that we will execute in full the disposal program with cash proceeds of 1 billion by the end of 23. I will come back in details on this. The third is that we have, of course, included dividends to the shareholders. Dividends to the shareholders, the minority shareholders that we have. We have some JVs in China. We have minority shareholders inside ELA. And, of course, dividends to you, to shareholders of Faurecia, with application of the historical cash allocation policy, and I will come back on details. And then you have the last part, which is IFRS 16 fluctuation and others. So what it means a reduction of 2.4 billion in debt over 3 years, and it means that we are getting at the end of this period to 1.5 times in the ratio of net debt to EBITDA, i.e., we are getting back to the average of this industry. So we will be on a deleverage situation. So let me start with what we call selective sales growth. So Patrick mentioned earlier on the automotive production. I would like to highlight a couple of things. First of all, we have reduced, in fact, the anticipation over the course of the next 3 years. We are probably quite prudent in this respect. We have reduced by 6 million the number of cars in 25. We are considering a market of flat only for next year. And let me remind that this year is heavily constrained semiconductors, Ukraine war in the beginning of the year with direct impact of stop and go in Europe, and lockdowns in China, in particular in Q2, and here and there. So we are, in fact, more cautious starting with 23. And we are more cautious compared to the latest forecast of IHS S&P throughout the period. The second element I would like to mention is that we are talking about sizable growth. We are talking about 7 billion more revenues by 25 on an organic basis. Of course, we are disposing of some businesses, so we have taken into account what it represents in the revenues. But 32 billion before disposal, 30 billion after disposal. In the last CMD, we were talking about 33 before disposal. The reduction in volume, the de-risking of Faurecia Electronics represent 2.5 billion euro of revenues. And on the other side, you have inflation and you have a Forex. So actually, the plan that we are showing you is in fact consistent with the evolution of volume pre-disposal. The second thing is that you see that we are, in fact, heavily geared on certain activities. Electronics is the most growing activity, as presented, in fact, by Björn and François. And we have, in fact, much less exposure to ICE, not only because of the transformation of scope that HELLA acquisition represents, but because of the evolution of the business. And you see that the totality of clean mobility represents 15% only in 25, actually inclusive of the hydrogen activities and inclusive of commercial vehicles. So actually, the passenger vehicle ICE is in fact more in the 12% range. The growth is 10 billion over the 4 years, 7 billion over the next 3 years, and we have already secured in the order book, and I think all the business group leaders have articulated this one, more than 80%, very consistent, in fact, with the type of cycle that we have. So we have a high level of security on this growth, and I think also on the volume, we are taking into account the evolution that are included. So I believe that those assumptions are consistent with the environment, but fairly prudent. The mirror of this is on the regions. So you see in the mix in regions, and no surprise, the growth is in Asia. We are reducing our level of activity, relative level of activity in Europe. You have seen that in Americas, we are in fact limiting the growth. This is particularly the consequence of what Frank articulated in the complete seat activity. Growth is in Asia, China and outside China. Now, if I move to the profitability is first of all to protect and if possible improve our variable margin. There are two basic headwinds on the variable margin. The first one is the energy. Patrick mentioned about this. I would like to highlight the three elements inside. Hedging policies done in a good manner that allowed, in fact, to limit the increase and to have a known increase. We don't depend on the future fluctuation of energy prices for 23. The second is our self-production and all the initiatives that were launched before all this crisis in the context of our CO2 initiatives, and that are particularly handy in the context. And the third one is we have in place the proper management in order to identify as early as possible the topics. I mentioned in the presentation of the H1 result that we were putting aside a maximum of 100 million of cash for purchase in advance in case of disruption this winter. The good news is that we are doing it, and it will be much less. But we are more and more agile in terms of identifying issues and uncertainties before they actually materialize. And I think the energy evolution, the energy action is a good testimony of this throughout FORVIA. The second one is, of course, the inflation. So here we are showing in a graphical manner the key assumption we are making in terms of evolution of inflation during the period. So I will start with raw materials. So raw materials, two things. Number one, this is the most structured in terms of negotiation and pass-through with the customers. It's not a full structured mechanism, but it's much more because they are external reference and because they have been always, in fact, fluctuation in this domain. We see, in fact, actually, that the evolution on raw material is a bit better than this curve. In fact, the decrease is happening faster than what we have inside this plan. So far, so good. And the pass-through is anticipated to be in full, and there is a lag inside the pass-through, so when in fact price decrease, we recuperate the lag. On wages, we have done this year some specific bonus and specific correction, very local. Next year, we anticipate to have on average, and this is an aggregate worldwide average, a 200 basis points increase compared to our normal trend on our salaries and wages cost. We anticipate this to be much less after that year, and we are considering in this plan, in fact, to have a pass-through of this as large as possible. Not the full one, this is our target, but financially, we have been a bit more cautious to be sure on this point. And energy bill, I already mentioned. We have a governance in place to manage inflation and to accelerate the recovery. The difficulty in this is not only commercial negotiation, but is also visibility on the cost, objective discussion, and proper arbitration and escalation. The governance is in place between sales, operation, and finance to do just that. Now, if I move to the cost side, on the fixed cost side, we will do the majority of the evolution. And here, I'm talking about the totality of the fixed cost. So what is operational efficiency is all the manufacturing and operation cost. It's all what you have between variable margin and gross margin, if you want. So all the indirect cost to operate and to execute programs. Here, we anticipate a decrease by 200 basis points in this domain. You have seen many of the business groups highlighting this factor. This is the case in seating, the case in lighting in particular. It's about digitalization, it's about massification, it's about enforcement of our common operation standard called FES, and it's about, in fact, doing the growth without increasing the square meter net-net. The second topic in fixed cost is about R&D. We will stabilize the gross R&D for the whole company. It does not mean that it's the same situation for everyone. We will grow R&D in electronics. We will reduce R&D in ultra-low emission. But overall, the envelope, the level of R&D will be, in growth, fairly stable. That improve, in fact, in terms of percentage of sales by at least 100 basis points with the growth of revenues. The impact of this will be in full in the net cash flow, but in net R&D, the capitalization effect will moderate it, and I think many investors will be happy that we see less capitalization, in fact, happening in the new Forvia. And the last part is, of course, SG&A. So SG&A, with the combination of the two companies, they are obviously domains of synergies, which are part of the 250 million euro that Michel called out earlier, the confirmation of the combined synergy of Forvia. This is about, in particular, our shared service center, and in fact, we are already combining that. It's about using the capability and the best practices. Digital reporting capabilities from ELA are very good. Accounting and some other back office functions are quite good in Faurecia. We combine the two, we leverage, and we get a better functioning for the whole company. And of course, back office synergies in other functions. Michel was mentioning quite a few cases earlier in his presentation. So when you translate that in an evolution of the operating margin, actually, it means that the majority of the improvement between the 4 to 5% that we have as a guidance for this year and the 7% is coming from the fixed cost evolution. And the second point I would like to mention is that this plan is with contingencies. We have at least 50 basic points of contingencies in operating margin, and actually you will have the same in the free cash flow. So we are showing numbers that we are able to deliver in a context that is, of course, volatile, to secure our commitment. A few other things I would like to mention on this page is that this is with the cost reduction of 150 million in 23, expanding to 300 million in 25 that Patrick mentioned early in the day. It means that the break-even point is going down from the current 65 million vehicle in 22 to 61, the majority from fixed cost evolution. And you see on the right-hand side of the slide that there are two columns. There is the operating margin profitability, the operating margin percentage before and after disposal. The portfolio of disposal that we have is much larger in value than the 1 billion. But the point here is that there is a mix of profitability inside that is leading that this mix does not change our capacity to execute more than 7% post-disposal on the 30 billion. Now, if I move to the cash conversion and the associated portfolio management, we have set up Managed by Cash program. This is based on what existed in ELA and in Faurecia. In Faurecia, the name was Convert to Cash, and the goal is the same. The goal is to take all the elements of the conversion in cash to ensure that our operations are leading to a better cash performance. So it's about having an organization that is working together to identify those levers and execute them from code to cash, from the definition of the contract to the actual collection of everything, including overdues. And this is, in fact, what is highlighted here. So on the commercial side, when we talk about selective growth, we are talking about avoiding small projects. Or if we take small projects, then the financing, the financial investment will have to be renegotiated with the customers. It's about having good return on large programs. Olivier Lefebvre was mentioning the longevity, in particular in clean mobility, typical case. It's about getting in cash the modification of a program, what is called the ECRs. The second is the working capital. So on the working capital, we are targeting at least 150 basic points improvement on the working capital between 22 and 25. Bernard was mentioning in ELA, in fact, 300 basic points, 100 per year. Two key elements inside. Number one, we have a level of inventory that is totally abnormal there are a lot of stranded inventories related to semiconductors. You have semiconductors, you don't have the totality, or in fact the customer is in fact in incapacity to deliver, to dispose of the totality of the elements, he cannot produce the car. So there are in fact inventories that are not fully used. And second, we have clearly in fact, due to the stop and go and also historicals, we have clearly a level that can be optimized. So on some domains, we are already there. On some, we are not yet. This is inside. And the second point, of course, is to collect overdues. That's a normal thing, but we are in a context of tension, discussion with OEMs. We have to make sure that we get this part being corrected. CapEx decreased by 100 basis points. This is consistent with the massification. This is consistent with the standardization. This is consistent with what the business groups present earlier on. And then in terms of financing, two domains. One is, in fact, the funding of the hydrogen activity. Actually, this is already largely on the way because we have been, as Olivier mentioned, the biggest beneficiary of the IPCEI funding decided in Europe for in fact, the French companies. Decided by the French government in the context of the European Union, which is solidifying the capacity to work on hydrogen on top of the commercial wins that we got. And the other thing is to remain active on the financing, and I will come in further detail on this aspect. So clearly, this is about getting holistic on cash conversion. And this is why you see the managed by cash domain is in fact the main driver of the evolution. Is actually 3.2 points inside this graph. So the operational performance on the manufacturing side is contributing, the volume is contributing, we still have dilutive effect, but the game changer of getting on a consistent basis to 4% is this one. 4% ELA, 4% FORVIA. We have taken into account inside, of course, the increase of tax and financial cost. And maybe I should say it's actually more tax. With more profit, it's normal that we are paying more tax. So this is taken into account inside this plan. And we have a contingency, here again, of 50 basis points on this plan. Similar to what I mentioned on the operating margin, the mix of disposal is leading to a ratio of conversion in cash similar before and after disposal. Which is a good segue to the status of the disposal program. So what has happened? What has happened is that we have identified the list of assets. It's largely above 1 billion. It's different files. And we have also worked on making sure that they are verticalized and the carve-outs can happen. So, in fact, the status on those ones have various speed. But this is a key element. The second is that we got the first deal, the disposal of HBPO shares and sold to Plastic Omnium. This one is under antitrust. 2 of the 4 jurisdictions have already given their go-ahead, and on the remaining one, we are expecting, in fact, a closing by the end of the year. The second is that given the progress on several of the files that we have currently, we can commit that at least one other deal will be announced before the end of the year to manifest continuous progress on the disposal program. The third milestone will be end of June. By end of June, all the deals will be signed so that, in fact, from a cash proceeds, it will happen during the year with antitrust proceedings taken into account. So we are progressing. We have one file down. We have several that are in a good position. For obvious reasons, as long as they are not signed, we will not communicate on this. But we are making good progress in this one, and I confirm the 1 billion will be done. which is leading to the evolution of the balance sheet. So the refinancing of the acquisition of HELLA. The starting point was 5.4 billion. We are now with remaining 900 million, the 900 million including the proceeds of HBPO, because the antitrust should be no problem. The remaining 900 million will be a mixture of disposal and financing. You can see remaining disposal to do 700 million, so it's the vast majority already. But depending on the timing, depending on possibilities on the different markets existing, we will be opportunistic to see whether some financing can be done. One example that we did recently was, in fact, financing with Mexican and Latin American banks, in fact, at fairly good condition and with a very good execution recognized by the bank. So we are looking at different avenues in order to ensure that we have choices. On the debt profile, so you see in hashes, this is in fact the bridge loan, and this is consistent, in fact, with the previous page. A few things to highlight on this. You see that outside the bridge loan, in fact, the maturity profile is more interesting, with, in fact, the big one only in 27. We have, in fact, fixed rates for the majority of our debt. We have an average cost of less than 3%. Of course, in current condition, any renewal or any new financing will be at a higher, clearly at a higher level, as you know. But we have a starting point which is quite good. We have taken into account the increase of interest rates in our financial profile and our net cash flow. And on the rating agencies, we got confirmation of the rating, in fact, from 2 out of the 3 in a few days ago. Now, talking about covenants. So, as you know, there is a covenant on the debt, which is 3. A waiver was defined early this year, which was giving a waiver for June 22, and a modification to 3.75 at the end of the year. I confirm and returning to 3 from June 23 onwards. I confirm that we are targeting to be below or equal to 3 times by the end of this year, which is no problem compared anyway to the covenant of 3.75. And I can say that we have, in fact, with the combination of the disposal program cash in plus the 1.5% of net cash flow expected for next year, we have a large headroom compared to covenants of 23. Now, to go further than that, we did a stress test to see what if, in fact, there is a recession in Europe with an impact on production of a severe level. And what we have taken is an assumption of 12 million cars produced in Europe with direct impact for us in proportion. We have no issue with the covenant in this context. It will be an environment in which cost will be reduced aggressively, but this is what we did in the past, and this is what we will do again. So we have done the exercise of the situation in normal conditions, flat market, maybe not normal conditions, because unconstrained this market will grow. But in the condition we have defined, flat market, we have a large headroom on the covenants, and if the market in Europe is severely impacted, we have no issue on the covenant. Maybe one more thing to mention. We mentioned the operating margin, but I think another data that I should mention is the level of EBITDA, which is, of course, embedded inside all those ratios. So we are at 3 for this year. In 25, we will be at 14.5% of the revenues, take 4.4 around. I let you calculate what means the value of a company of 4.4 billion in EBITDA with 6 billion of debt, even with bad ratios. It's probably not the share price of today. Now, on cash allocation to shareholders, so historical policy has been 40% allocation to dividend and free share purchase, 60% to deleveraging. We maintain this policy. The board of directors of Faurecia yesterday proposed, in fact, no dividend being paid in 23 on the 22 results. This proposition will be presented at the next shareholder meeting to support the group deleveraging. But it's actually consistent also with our guidance of a net cash flow break-even for the year. So I want to make sure that inside this plan, we are planning to have the dividend policy that existed historically in Faurecia happening for shareholders with impact in 24 and 25. And on this note, I conclude, because you have the format in terms of net cash flow generation, in terms of the disposal program, and inclusion, the return of some of this profit to the shareholders.
Thank you, Olivier. Thank you very much.